Have you ever wondered how Facebook decides which posts appear first in your feed? Or how Netflix somehow knows which show you'll love next? Or how Amazon suggests exactly the product you were already thinking about? Behind all these decisions are JavaScript objects. Each user, each click, each watch history stored in objects as collections of data called key-value pairs. Facebook uses objects to store your friends, posts, and likes. Netflix uses objects to track what you've watched and what you might enjoy. Amazon stores your browsing and purchase history in objects. Objects let these apps organize, access, and manipulate data instantly, reacting to every move you make. Mastering objects means understanding the hidden structure behind the sites you use every day, and that is real power in JavaScript.
All right, let's open the chest and see what an object really is. Imagine you walk into a library. Every book has a title, an author, a year it was written, and maybe even a category like fantasy or science. You don't just see random letters floating around. You see information organized with labels. That is exactly how JavaScript objects work. A primitive is like picking up one book. You get just one piece of information, maybe just a number or a word. An array is like an entire bookshelf. Books stacked in order, each one reachable by its position on the shelf, the first, the second, the third. But an object, that's the catalog at the librarian's desk. Instead of just order, it gives you labels. Title to author, year to category. It connects names with information, making the library usable. To create an object, we use curly braces. Think of them as the container that holds all the key value pairs. In this example, here's what's happening. The entire curly braces is the object. Name, age, role, is alive are keys. Brendan Ike, 60, creator of JavaScript, and true are the values. Every object is just a set of labels matched with their data.
Now, let's break down this key value magic. Every property inside an object has two parts. The first one is called key. It is always a string. Even if you don't use quotes, JavaScript secretly converts it. Examples: name, age, role. The second one is called value. It can be anything: a string, number, boolean, array, another object, or even a function. Let's see this with examples. Explanation. In this example, the key version is like a label, and the ES6 is the value attached to it. It tells us which edition or version of JavaScript we are talking about. The key year released stores a number. It marks the year this version of JavaScript was officially released. This is a Boolean value. It answers a yes/no question like, is this a major update? In this case, yes. Here, the value isn't just text or a number, it's an array. That means this version of JavaScript introduced multiple features grouped together. The value of influenced by is itself another object. This is called nesting objects, an object inside an object. It lets us describe more complex details. In this case, which language influenced this version and how popular that language was.
But here's the real question. How do you open the chest and actually grab the treasure? So, we know our object is a treasure chest full of labeled treasures. But how do we reach in and grab a specific treasure? The simplest way is dot notation. Just use a dot to go straight to the label you want. Here we have an object called JavaScript milestone. It has two properties, version and year released. When we write like this, JavaScript looks inside the JavaScript milestone object, finds the property called version, and prints its value, which is ES6. Similarly, this line accesses the year release property and prints 2015. Dot notation works perfectly when the key is simple, valid name like brand, year, or owner. Next, let's explore accessing object properties using bracket notation, which is another way to get values from objects. First, notice this line. Instead of using a dot, we put the property name in quotes inside square brackets. This prints true, because isMajorUpdate is a property of JavaScript milestone. Why would we use brackets instead of dots? Bracket notation is essential when property names are dynamic or stored in variables. Look at this. Here, key to access holds the name of the property we want. JavaScript looks at the value of key to access, which is version, and prints ES6. This is dynamic access. The property can change at runtime. Finally, bracket notation is super handy for nested objects. Here, influence by is itself an object inside JavaScript milestone. By combining dot notation for the first layer and bracket notation for the second, we access the language property dynamically and print Java. So remember, dot notation is simple and readable. Bracket notation lets you use variables, special characters, or dynamic property names. You can mix them to reach nested properties. This is the secret that makes JavaScript objects flexible and powerful. Your code can decide which property to access while it's running.
This is like having a map or a note in your hand. You write down which label you want, and the chest gives it to you. And with these two, you've mastered the art of opening any treasure chest of data in JavaScript. We've learned how to peek into our treasure chest and pull out the labeled treasures. But what if the chest isn't perfect yet? What if it's missing a gem, or maybe holds something you no longer need? In JavaScript, objects are living structures. You can add new properties or remove old ones at any time. The chest is flexible. It evolves with your story. Let's say we have an object representing a JavaScript feature timeline. Now, imagine JSON is growing in popularity and gaining more recognition. We can add a property dynamically to show its widespread impact. With this, now our object carries this new information. It's like JSON earned a new badge. It didn't have it yesterday, but today it's part of its story. Sometimes old features or notes are no longer needed. We can remove a property just like cleaning up unnecessary info. With this, the object stays clean and focused, highlighting only the properties that matter now. Adding and removing properties isn't just about syntax. It's about control and growth. Objects in JavaScript are not static. They change, expand, and shed what they no longer need. So remember, every object is a living chest. You can write new labels, store new treasures, and even erase old ones. So far, we've seen objects as a chest of treasures, labels with values, items we can add or remove. But sometimes a chest hides another chest within, each containing its own treasures and secrets. This is what we call a nested object. A nested object is simply an object inside another object, just like JavaScript's history has layers of milestones and features. Here, first version is a mini chest inside JavaScript, holding the original code name, the 10-day creation period, and its first features. And launch is another mini chest with its own treasures, the browser it appeared in, and whether it was ready to use. JavaScript now has layers, properties that are themselves organized objects telling the story of its miraculous birth in just 10 days. Accessing treasures inside a nested chest is simple. First open the outer chest, then reach into the inner one. You can even add new treasures to the inner chest. Think of it like discovering a hidden compartment and adding a gem inside the 10-day miracle. It's still part of the same historic object. Imagine your code as a carefully composed music album. The main object represents the album itself, the overarching collection of work. Nested objects are the individual tracks, each with its own structure, rhythm, and mood. Within each track, there are layers, vocals, instruments, harmonies, and effects, organized precisely to create the intended experience. Using nested objects in your code is like producing this album. Every element is thoughtfully placed, contributing to a structured, coherent, and harmonious whole, where each layer adds depth and meaning. Nested objects are the art of organizing complexity. They let you build worlds inside worlds, keep your data meaningful, and tell stories that are rich and layered. And just like a skilled warrior knows every chamber in his castle, a skilled developer knows every property in a nested object.
We've explored objects, their nested chambers, and the treasures they hold. But now let's step back and compare how do objects differ from primitives and arrays. It's a subtle distinction, but one that changes everything about how your code behaves. A primitive is like a single gem, a crystal that sits alone. Examples: each primitive holds one value. Copy it and you get another independent gem. Changing one does not affect the other. Primitives are simple and immutable. An array is like a shelf of treasures, each item in a strict order. Arrays store multiple items accessible by their index. They can grow or shrink, but they still behave as a single entity. Copy the shelf by reference or value, and you'll see differences in behavior, just like copying a map of a treasure room. Objects, as we've seen, are chests with labeled compartments. Each key is a label, each value is a treasure. Objects are reference types. This is the secret that makes them powerful. Here's the magic and danger of objects in JavaScript. What's happening is JS framework and popular framework point to the same object. Change the content through one, and the other sees the update instantly. This is what makes objects living, mutable, and shared in JavaScript. Compare that to primitives like numbers or strings. Copying a number creates a separate, independent value, untouched by the original. Think of it like this. A primitive is a single gem. Take it, and it's yours alone. An array is a row of treasures. Take the shelf, but copying it might still link you to the same treasures. An object is a chest. Anyone holding the key can reach in and touch the same treasures. Objects are alive, shared, and powerful, just like a warrior's chest in a kingdom. It can grow, shrink, or change. And everyone who knows the secrets can see the changes. Mastering primitives, arrays, and objects, and recognizing which are reference types is like charting the battlefield before war. One misstep, and what you thought was safe could vanish, or turn against you. And that's the first part of our journey into JavaScript objects. Here's a challenge for the sharp-eyed. Somewhere in this video, I mentioned how many days it took Brendan Eich to create JavaScript. If you caught it, comment the number of days down below. I want to see who was paying attention. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden structure behind the code you use every day, hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any exciting future videos. The next part of the series is coming soon, and it's going to take you even deeper. Don't miss out.